Can I just talk about something? Look, I see so many people with complaints about Street Fighter, with complaints about Street Fighter 6, about the lack of offline competition, the over reliance on online for the Capcom Pro Tour this year, the overall underwhelming viewership that people seem to think the game is getting, even though the viewership numbers are absolutely higher than Street Fighter V's towards the end of Street Fighter V's lifetime. Right, maybe not the beginning, but sure the end, right? Let's be fucking real here. I think that there are way more pressing and important matters to what is annoying or kind of relevant to people wanting to quit Street Fighter 6 or people hearing offhand about Street Fighter 6 and not wanting to try it or play it. And it's not the competitive scene. It's nothing to do with that at all. I want to get into the two reasons. I believe, if I'm honest, there's three. Three real reasons. Let me move over. There's three real reasons why I think Street Fighter 6 is kind of annoying. Is a good game, but is just a little flawed. I don't think it's a bad game. I really like Street Fighter 6. This is like my first real Street Fighter experience outside of like Alpha 3 on the PSP as a kid, and I'm loving this shit. This shit is tight. I played like fucking 30 minutes of Street Fighter 5. I have Ultra Street Fighter 4. I've only ever played Elena and DJ. When I play against real people, I play DJ. When I play Elena, when I play against Scrubs, I play DJ. Anyways, let me get back to what I was saying. Street Fighter 6 is the Street Fighter game that I put the most hours into as an adult, as even a competent fighting game player, right? Because I was not playing no competent Street Fighter on the PSP. Let's be real. I like a lot about the game. I like most of what's going on with the drive system. I really like the duality between drive impact, drive reversal, drive rush, for the most part, and drive impact, right? I think that's all the mechanics. I like how there's now 3 different SAs again, right? There's Super Art 1, 2, and 3, and you have access to all 3 of them, not just like one, like you would have in something like Third Strike, right? Maybe even in the Street Fighter 3 era, right? Because I only really know about Third Strike. I don't know much about Street Fighter 3 New Generation. I know a little bit about Second Impact, but that's irrelevant. Street Fighter 6 is a, for the most part, well put together game with a few systems bogging it down. And the first one that is extremely noticeable, if you've played any amount of other 2D fighters and understand what you're doing with your controller, with your hitbox, with your leverless, with your arcade stick, with your, I don't know, fucking Dance Revolution pad, whatever the fuck you play with, your Guitar Hero controller. If you know your way around a quarter circle, a Z motion, a half circle, a 360, you'll know that sometimes this game just gives you weird ass inputs. Whether that be overly stored inputs, lasting too long, whether that be it over buffering something, you buffered a single quarter circle, or you ended a quarter circle in back, or down forward, even though you did the forward, so now it's giving you DP instead, and you just DP'd from full screen instead of doing a Hadouken. You're walking back, and you're trying to crouch while walking back, and you see something and you want to down heavy punch it, and you get a fucking quarter circle back punch, whatever that is for your character. Oopsies, right? You get things like that. These things happen very frequently. I don't really know how to replicate. Damn, my FPS dropped like crazy. As a 360 main, I concur, kind sir. Yeah, it does seem very it happens at like very inopportune times. It doesn't feel like it's repeatable, right? It doesn't feel like you can make it come out as you want it. But it definitely feels like it's constant enough and more and like noticeable enough that it makes for an awkward experience. Like, that's actually a pretty long stored input. I had 8 frames of neutral before pressing the button. So, like, say I'm just trying to walk back this and I'm doing half circles, right? Say, actually, more likely, say I'm doing this, trying to bait one of those, right? And I do it a little too fast. And I do it just a little too fast, I might get a level 1. Has it happened to me? Yeah. I was gonna say I've only ever seen it happen once, but It does happen. These things do happen, right? It's something that really makes the game a little harder to control. It feels very stiff, very rigid, and the way that you're allowed to move your lever or your buttons around, and you have to make sure you're very crisp and very clean, and it makes for some awkward, sloppy inputs that also lead to shortcuts, right? So there's like little cheats that you can do with it, but more than likely, it's causing you really bad misinputs. It happens to me very frequently. It happens to me even on drive rush freezes, right? Like I see someone drive rush at me, or I see someone drive impact at me, and I see that my button either completely doesn't come out or gets lost in the ether and turned into something else. Like I press down back plus kick, and it just gives me the kick, right? It completely mitigates me pressing this first, right? I'm trying to check it with something like a crouching medium kick, and I get a stand medium kick, which, let's be real, as someone like Kimberly, that's probably not so bad. This button's godlike, right? But as DJ, that's a little less good, because I want the knockdown here. I want to take this knockdown as DJ, or say I'm Kin or Jury or Ryu. I want to get that crouch medium kick into drive rush, right? Stuffing that approach, even as someone like Cammy, right? And that makes for, like I said, more rigidity, and that you have to play with more rigidity. You have to play very stiff. You have to play very calculated, very, very full intuitive with everything you do, because if you don't, you might get a misinput that could cost you a game, right? That can happen at the highest level of play. That can happen at the lowest level of play. At the lowest level of play, more than likely, people are just going to assume that what happened was, oh, they missed their input. You know, they're new to fighting games, or they're not very good at fighting games. Oh, whatever, right? But the better you get at fighting games, the more you realize that sometimes it's legit just not you, bro. It's not you. It has something to do with the game's input reader engine. I've seen it happen to my friends as well. One of my friends who just recently got mastered with Aki, he was actually able to replicate why the fuck he randomly was getting double quarter circle forward, because he was doing walk forward, quarter circle forward on a hitbox. So that's down, then forward, then quarter circle forward to do a quarter circle, and he did not have the diagonal. The second diagonal, and it was still giving him double quarter circle forward for something like a super, which is pretty funny, but not funny in the heat of the moment when you're trying to move very quickly across the ground and then react to something with a DP or with a fireball or with a dragon lash, right? These things unnecessarily make the game harder to control and a little more swingy and random at times. Another thing, the thing I think is the most cumbersome, is the most frustrating. This is the most cumbersome and the most frustrating. When you play ranked, you are almost always absolutely region locked. The game doesn't want you to ever see bad connections, though you will still get them. I promise you. It doesn't really want you to see bad connections. So to stop you from seeing bad connections as frequently, what it does is it actually region locks you to a certain geographic location, right? As a person who lives in Texas, I can comfortably say that I almost always play people from the South, right? Whether that be Oklahoma, the state next to it, I don't know what the fuck it is. Sorry, I don't study geography. Fuck off. Mexico, and a state over, right? Something like a New Mexico, right? I play this very small area of states, Louisiana as well. I play this very small area of states around me, and nothing else. Right, I have very serviceable connections with some of my friends in Florida, in New York, in Arizona, in California. Do I ever run into those players in ranked or those connections in ranked? No. So what happens is, even though the player base for this game is very large, very expansive, pretty wide, and in Diamond, in Platinum, there is a lot of players still, right? Maybe not the most players, because of course, actually Platinum does have the most players, but Diamond doesn't have the most players, but there is still a large majority of the player base in Platinum and Diamond. But what you will find is that a lot of times you end up running into the same players over and over and over. And it actually doesn't make any sense. I don't see any world why it would give you the same players over and over and region lock you when there's a bunch of other good connections that exist, right? I play people from the East Coast. Sometimes I have 4-bar connections. Sometimes I have 5-bar connections. Same thing all the way on the other side on the West Coast with a state like California, Arizona, Washington. These states, these regions still give me playable connections. But for some reason, Capcom decided they want to region lock matchmaking, making the game feel, I don't want to say it, but dead or small. Though it's not. It's a very large game. There's still a really active player base. for a fighting game, right? Fighting games don't usually have super big active player bases. It's not normal, but this one does. But it doesn't always feel that way whenever you're queuing up for ranked. When you're queuing up for casual, I believe the parameters are widened a bit, but for ranked, the parameters are very, very small, and they make the game feel dead or small. Because I can tell you, I can count over my number of hands, right? I can count over 10 times where I ran into the same player multiple times in like a 2-hour session while playing DJ to Master, and I'm on my way to Kimberly with Master. Come stop by the stream for that if you want to watch. And I run into the same players. Generally, it's a Luke or a Honda. That's not a fucking joke. I've run into the same Honda player 3 or 4 times, and the same Luke like 5 or 6 times. And then a couple of repeats in there with like Manon, Zangief, Ryu. I believe there was a Ryu I ran into 3 times as well. Like, I remember some of these people, and I have actual proof of it because I'm a streamer. I stream. So you can be like, oh, dude, like, you're tripping. You're actually like, you're tripping, bro. That's not real. That doesn't happen. Dude, that's propaganda. It's not propaganda, bitch. Go look at my VODs. Look at my VODs, and you'll see that occasionally I'll run into the same Honda. I'll run into the same Luke. I'll run into the same Ryu or Kin from either that session or a session the next day. There is enough players that shouldn't be happening. That doesn't make any sense, and it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel fun. Even if you wax that player, even if you beat that player's ass, it doesn't feel good. And I'm sure at Master, it's even more frequent. Because of the fact that Master doesn't have a lot of players. Right? And if it's happening in Diamond and Platinum, which have way more players than Master, it's going to happen in Master as well. And in Master, everyone's sweating for points. You don't want to run into the same person who just beat you 2 games to none. Or you don't want to run into the person you just beat 2 games to none because you want a challenge. Maybe you want your free points. I don't fucking know. I know tons of people who just love their free points. I'm one of them. I love free points. Free points are cool. But that's the second reason. The last reason, just stability. This one's a quick one. It's a short one. All the problems that I have with Street Fighter 6, it's not patch problems. It's not, I think that the game needs to be balanced. Ken is too broken. JP, Luke, too broken. Fix those characters. Nerf them into the ground. I don't care about any of that shit. Like, I'll adjust and adapt to them. They are annoying to fight, but they are the game. They are part of the game right now. If you want to think about Street Fighter 6 as fucking Ken and JP Fighter 6, okay? That's just how the game works right now. This is a stable version of the game that doesn't have anything overly broken. They fixed Rashid's level 2, and they fixed modern Chun-Li inputs. Yay, right? So there's nothing overly broken that needs to be addressed right now, and I'm glad they're just taking it small, little incremental fixes at a time. I have no issue with that. My thing is the stability of network. I have so many games that end like that. Like, it's just like the game turns off. Whether that's my net, because it's not always my net, right? Even before my internet got started degrading or degrading and getting worse, I had a lot of instability and connection issues, and I would assume people were rage quitting. But it wasn't always. Sometimes it was just that the server shit out on us as we were in the middle of a match. Sometimes it would say it was my fault, but it wasn't. It was on the server because I was up streaming. I was still streaming, and it says I disconnected from the match, and I'm just sitting here like, I disconnected from the match? I'm not connected to the internet anymore. Are you sure, CFN? And I'm sitting here with my 3,200 bitrate chugging along. Big vibing. The stability of the game, especially of the servers, should be of utmost importance to Capcom if they really want most of the premieres and most of the big ways to get into Capcom Pro Tour, to get to the Capcom Pro Tour finals specifically, to be online. Shouldn't you make sure that your servers are stable and working so that people can actually play the game and make it into your Capcom Pro Tour events? That's just a thought. Those are the big reasons that I'm kind of annoyed by Street Fighter 6. Only kind of. I still like the game. I think it's a really dope game. I definitely think it's better than 5. I definitely think it's better than 4. Sorry for anyone who, like, if you're a fucking Ultra 4 boomer and you're going to come at me in the comments, sorry, get over it. If you're a Street Fighter 5 apologist, it got better towards the end of the game. Fine. Whatever. I agree. I still don't really like the V system as much as I like the draft system. I think the draft system is awesome. And if you agree with any of the talking points about why I am kind of, with the issues I have with Street Fighter 6, leave it in the comments down below. If you have any other issues with Street Fighter 6 that you think Capcom maybe needs to address or just want to vent about, let that shit out. Talk about how you fucking hate Honda. Talk about how you fucking hate Perfect Parry. Leave it down in the comments below. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel, because, of course, I'm on my way to 500 subscribers. And the closer I get to that, and the closer I get to 3,000 watch hours in a year, more likely I am to be able to make some money on YouTube. And you know what it is. It's all about the Benjamins, and it's all about the beanies. Thank you for watching. It's been Beanie Thuggish for the YouTube, signing out and saying...